Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to RISmedia's Broker Webinar Series. I'm Verl Workman. I want to say welcome, everybody, and let you know I'm excited about this content. We have amazing guests today, a phenomenal sponsor, and we're going to talk about delivering Amazon-like customer experiences. When you think about the concept of delivering Amazon-like customer experiences, it makes me think about the conference I was at on Halloween, and the event planner threw a big party, and I remember sitting with one of my coaches and said, are you going to go to the party? He says, I don't know. I don't have a costume. And then he went on Amazon Now and delivered and ordered a costume that was delivered the same day to the hotel we were staying in, and then ended up with a great Joe Dirt costume. That concept of being able to give consumers what they want at the moment they want it is what a lot of people think it means to deliver Amazon-like customer services. Let me just introduce myself. I'm Verl Workman, CEO of Workman Success Systems, with a strong focus on helping brokers and teams build seven-figure businesses. We do it through coaching and training, products and services, and it's a pleasure for me to be here and be part of this webinar. Just a couple of housekeeping items for those of you who are joining us for the first time. If you have questions during the webinar today, I encourage all of you to use the little control panel on the side of your GoToWebinar control panel. There's a little question mark. If you'll click that, you're able to type in and ask questions. I'll be monitoring that, and our staff will be monitoring that during the call. So if you have questions for any of our guests or our sponsor, you can type them in there, and then we'll do our best to ask those questions during the webinar. Also, we are recording this webinar, and so if we go through some content too fast, or you wanted to repeat something, or you didn't hear something, just know that following the webinar, we'll send you a link where you can go in and you can listen to the webinar at another time and get that information that you may have missed. I want to say thank you again for being here. We know how valuable your time is, and we do our best to make sure that we offer valuable content with actionable items and things that you can do in your business today to make a difference going forward. And so let's start by introducing Alyssa Harper. Alyssa Harper is the Executive Vice President of Marketing and Enterprise Sales for Inside Real Estate. She has spent over the last 15 years in the real estate tech industry, scaling the brokerage and enterprise business lines at companies like Market Leader, Trulia, Zillow, and Buyside. With 4 acquisitions under her belt, she is absolutely passionate about creating win-win partnerships with some of the top brokerages and brands in the space. And it's a pleasure to introduce Alyssa Harper. Alyssa, welcome, and thank you for being part of the webinar today.
Hey, Verl, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to participate today.
So, Alyssa, tell us a little bit about Inside Real Estate real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I'll just take a couple quick minutes here and give you a little background on who we are. Inside Real Estate is one of the leading independent technology partners to hundreds of top real estate brokerages across the US and Canada, and we support about 200,000 of their agents and top teams. So we're very fortunate to work with some of the largest brands in the space, including folks like Royal LePage, the market leader up in Canada, as well as folks like First Team, Baird & Warner, and of course the Kai's Company and Real People Realty, who we have joining us on the call today. So we're very grateful to work with so many of the top brokers in the space today, and we take that partnership responsibility very seriously. In fact, we're now one of the only truly independent tech companies in the space, meaning our interests are 100% aligned with our customers. And we've got the resources and the scale and the financial backing to really not only drive cutting-edge product innovation, but really to be a long-term partner supporting our client success well into the future. So for those of you who might not be familiar with Inside Real Estate, you have likely heard of our flagship platform, KV Core. And KV Core really exists to help brokerages drive profitability throughout their organization. One of the biggest challenges we've seen brokerages face is just kind of this sea of tech tools out there and products out there, right, in the space, many of which don't really talk together and don't drive bottom line results for their agents and teams. And that can create some serious profitability gaps for their company. So KV Core really solves this challenge by creating a comprehensive tech ecosystem that's really streamlined, that's scalable and customizable to meet the unique needs of each brokerage as well as their agents and teams. Now, you'll see a lot of functionality and benefits with KV Core, everything from helping your agents and teams generate new business with our front-end websites and lead engine, all the way to nurturing and converting not only new leads, but sphere of influence, automated listing marketing, transaction integration, back office functionality like agent billing and commission payments. But there's a key area that we really focus on at Inside Real Estate that I think is particularly relevant to our discussion today. And that is the concept of automation. And we really kind of pioneered this concept of behavioral automation, meaning that with KV Core, we're really intelligently tracking all of your customers, your new leads, your sphere of influence, your past customers. And we're leveraging things like AI to engage them automatically based on their behavior. This means using things like image recognition to see beyond your standard search criteria and really understand the look and feel of what your customers want, right? Leveraging multi-channel engagement with text and with a mobile dialer app that's facilitating more live connections between your agents and their clients. And then pulling in outside data sources to track relevant life events post-close so that your agents will actually know and be prompted to reach out when that client they sold a home to 3 years ago just had a baby and might be looking to upgrade, right? So with all of this kind of next generation automation, we're really seeing about 5 to 10x higher client engagement compared with kind of your traditional CRM systems of the past. So all that said, we're super excited to be participating in the discussion today about delivering Amazon-like experiences. We're living in a today where consumers expect immediacy and seamless experiences like the one you described, Verl. So it's super important for brokers, I think, going into 2020 to really be thinking about how they deliver on that. So we're lucky to have experts like Wendy and Mike on the line today to share their tips and tricks. And with that, I'll hand it off to you guys.
Love it, and I appreciate you. We appreciate your support of the broker webinar series, and really appreciate the engagement that you have with your clients and the energy that you bring to the call. And I want to encourage you to stay on and ask questions and be engaged as we go through the call. I next want to introduce Wendy Iglesias. Wendy is the Chief Information Officer for the Kais Company in South Florida. She's an experienced leader in real estate and in technology with a background encompassing more than 25 years. Prior to the Kais Company, she was the founder of Click Technologies, which developed internet software solutions, and the vice president of sales at Expert Realty, where she was deeply involved in the organization's technology. It's fun to have a leader that's with a big company that also has such a strong technology background. Wendy, thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit about the Kais Company.
Absolutely, Verl. Thank you so much for having me. So the Kais Company is actually a 93-year-old company. We were founded in 1926, but we have made it our mission to just always kind of stay ahead of technology and what's going on out there. So we're very much rooted in our tradition, but we use the technology to figure out how to streamline the things that make a traditional real estate company a big revenue generator. And so we're very focused on our associates and our teams and the experience of our end user. We have 3 different brands that we operate. We have the Kais Company, Illustrated Properties, and Platinum Properties. And across those 3 brands, we have 3,500 associates and 58 offices up the East Coast of Florida. So it's always fun and challenging, but we really enjoy what we do, and really find this subject in particular to be one that we're very excited about.
I love that. I have lots of questions for you, but before I start that, I want to go back and I want to quickly introduce Mike Johnson, who is he's the business director of business development for Real People Realty, which I love the name, Real People Realty, based in Chicago. He's experienced in marketing, recruiting, retention. And anytime we have a leader that says that they're experts in recruiting and retention, I want to know more about who they are and what they do. With the help of his leadership, Real People has been a Chicago Tribune top workplace for the past 4 years, as one of Inc. Magazine's 5,000 fastest growing privately held businesses. Mike, thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit about Real People Realty.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on, Verl. So Real People Realty, we've been around since 2001 in the Chicagoland market. We have about 550 brokers right now that currently work for us. And we were founded back in 2001, really kind of on the premise of providing good technology and customer service for all of our clients. We saw that's really where the industry was going, and we wanted to be in the forefront of it. So we've utilized technology, from day one, kind of with the paperless system back being fax machines and everything back then. And now we're at the point where everything's automated and virtual completely. And, over the last several years, we've been able to leverage that to have over double growth with our company during that time.
I love that. There's a lot of questions to you as well. I'm going to go back to Well, first of all, thank you and welcome to the call today. And you'll all see that Mike has a lot to offer and a lot of great insights on creating that Amazon-like experience. But I'm going to go back to Wendy if I can. And Wendy, I'm going to ask you to tell me what that means to you to create Amazon-like experiences. Who are we talking to? Are we talking about the client? Are we talking about to your agents? Give me kind of an overview of what that means to you.
Absolutely, Verl. And I think, honestly, I think we're talking about both. So for the Kai's company, and I'm sure for most big brokers that are out there, if not most brokers in general, we really have two customers. So we have the end user, that's the buyer, the seller, the lessee, the lessor. But then we have our agent that is our customer that really services the end user for us. And so, that Amazon experience, I think, has to be delivered to both, to the end user consumer as well as to the realtor or team that's a part of the brokerage. And for me, I really sum up the Amazon experience as it's a removal of barriers. So there's so many things that need to be done throughout the search process or throughout the prospecting process and throughout the transaction process, and there's so many barriers that can be there. And really it's about removing those and making the process easy for the realtor or the team that's handling the end user, as well as for the buyer, seller, lessee or lessor. And so I think that it really boils down to powerful automation, relevant and timely content, and really making your customers a customer for life. So it doesn't just start at the point that they're a lead, it has to carry and continue all the way through past the transaction and into that subsequent transaction. And so I think that there's a lot that you can do with technology to make that happen.
All right, so Wendy, you made me, I remember talking about this removing barriers to get people what they want. And when I think of selling, I think of barrier selling versus non-barrier selling. And you spurred this thought in my mind. But when we're selling to a consumer, the way that we communicate, I think that real estate agents generally have done barrier sales, meaning that we believe that we have something that they can't get unless they use us. And so, we held on to our MLS data forever, and then we held on to the sold data. And now all that's out of the bag anymore, and we don't have the data as our barrier to getting into real estate or getting information. The consumers can get all that information any way they want. And I also noticed that the companies that are coming into real estate that are so-called disruptors, what they're doing is they're listening to the consumer, and the consumer is saying, I want a hassle-free transaction. I don't want to have to go through all of the stuff that I'm being told I have to go through. That's why you're hearing things like the iBuyers and the other kinds of industries that are coming in trying to take market share and put themselves in the middle of the commission. And it's because of that removing barriers to give people what they want concept. So I love that you brought that up, and I think it hits the nail right on the head about creating that Amazon experience. Just easier, just making it easier. So Mike, when you think about creating the Amazon experience, tell me what goes through your mind.
Pretty much what you and Wendy basically hit right on the head. It's just making it the ease experience for the clients, making them have to kind of go through as little hoops as possible to get information that they need. And at the end of the day, it's just about ease of access for everything. So as long as it's the easiest possible transaction for them, they're able to get it right at the tip of their fingertips on their smartphone nowadays. That's really where the Amazon experience came from. You didn't really hear about the Amazon experience prior to the smartphone being invented. And it's just the consumer mindset nowadays. They have access to all of their information right at the tip of their fingertips. As soon as they want to know something, they can just put it in Google or put it in Amazon, and they have everything that they need right there. So it's just about providing that for the client, and then also really for the agents as well too, making sure that they have all the information that they need right at the tip of their fingertips.
Mike, imagine the day when the consumer comes to the closing table and they finish the transaction and they hit the "that was easy" button. That was easy. Wouldn't that be cool? I think that's like the target. That's what we're trying to accomplish. That was easy. And you ask most consumers today and they're like, holy crap. It's not that simple. Wendy, talk about the power of automation a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about what some of the things Kai's company is doing to incorporate technology and automation to create that Amazon-like experience.
Absolutely. So, we have a few different things that we're doing, and the slide that we have here, something that we all know, over 40% of real estate inquiries never get a response. So one of our first places for automation is in that initial response, that whenever someone inquires with the Kai's company, whether that's through our mobile app or through our agent sites, office sites, corporate sites, through a third-party vendor that we work with, whenever they inquire with us, they get that immediate response on behalf of the associate that's going to be working with them. And that response gives them additional information on what they were inquiring about. It gives them the contact information directly to the associate. And then not only that, but we're looking at what were they inquiring about, and we're using artificial intelligence to then carry on that conversation beyond that initial response to be an ongoing response that is sending them, if they're inquiring about a property, is sending them property alerts on behalf of the associate and linking them back to the associate's website where they can get that additional information. In the last 30 days, we've sent out 3.8 million learning alerts, is what we actually call them, because they're completely based on customer behavior. So from the initial time that they inquire with us to everything that they do on our sites from that point forward, we're tracking and learning about that customer and then automating the responses that are going back to them. Funny story, one of our offices had a consumer that came into the office with a deposit check and wanted to meet with their realtor. And so the receptionist went back to get the realtor, and the realtor had no idea who the person was. They came out to meet them, of course, anyway, with a smile on their face and seeing how they could help. And come to find out, it was actually the automated response that was going back and forth with the consumer that helped them find this property that they had come in now to the office to put together an offer and hand over their deposit check. And so I think that there's a lot that you can do with artificial intelligence as it relates to just communicating with the customer. That's kind of on the buy side. On the sell side, understanding property evaluations, being able to communicate with them about the buyer activity in their area. And then specifically for Kai's, we kind of take that more in-house, and it's not just the general buyer activity, but the actual buyers that are amongst our 2 million contacts that we have within our CRM, whose profiles match their property criteria. And being able to, really show them what is the demand right now for their property and what's a price point, and being able to do that all via an automated process without having to send someone to do a bunch of research behind the scenes. So I would say those are real two big points of automation that work very well for us and make the connection between our customer and our customer, the buyer, the seller, and our customer, the agent. And at the end of the day, that's really the goal, is to drive the relationship between the consumer and the realtor, because that's really where the business gets done.
Great companies know how to make their people better than they really actually are. And when you add technology to it, it takes the automation and the follow-up that you wish that all of our agents were doing, and they were actually looking and at the following the detailed searches and then customizing responses to the client. We wish they would do it, but the reality is we want them out, shoulder to shoulder with buyers and sellers. And so we incorporate technology to create that experience that makes them better than they actually are in real life, because they're busy doing the business. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I see that fit.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly the goal.
Yeah. So the other thing, when you talk about behavioral automation, I want to talk about that for just a minute, because when it was first introduced to me by Alyssa, I was listening to behavioral automation. I thought, well, wait a second. When I think of behavioral automation, I think of the DISC style. The behavioral styles, like is it based on if they're a D, they're going to get more directed information, or if they're an I, they're going to get whatever. But you're talking about the actual behavioral of the type of properties they're looking for, and then customizing their experience based on what behavior they're exhibiting online. Is it just on their property searches, or does it take other behavioral attributes into consideration as well?
It takes other behavioral attributes into consideration as well. So, not only is it what they're searching or what they're searching for, but it's, when are they coming to the site? And maybe they're not on property search. Maybe they're on our recruiting page, or maybe they're interested in seller information. And so we're tracking everything that they're doing on the site to kind of understand what the customer is looking for. Are they tapping into our ancillary services, and are they looking at mortgage? Then do we need to alert our mortgage team that this is a consumer that they need to reach out to? So we're really, the search is certainly a big part of it, and probably one of the easier things to track and be able to communicate, because you have so much data to be able to offer to the consumer. But I think there's a lot beyond just the search and just tracking their behaviors and what they're doing on the site to understand what it is that they're looking for and how we can best service them.
Yeah, fascinating. So how does AI, people have different definitions of what AI means. So how do you use AI to stay connected to the right people? What does that mean? Help us understand that a little bit.
Okay, so for us, and I think this is one of the favorites of our associates, for us, we really try to drive our realtors and our teams to contact the contacts in their database that are showing behavior that would lead you to believe that they are closer to a real estate transaction. So if they're regularly searching, or if they've gone through, our entire seller page on our website, and they've looked at all of the presentation material and they know everything that's there, we then have an app that's available to our associates that they don't have to go log into their desktop machine and search through contacts and decide who should I call today. We basically queue all of this up for them. So they log into their app. We have a built-in dialer. They hit the dial button and it pulls up their first call that's scheduled for the day. It tells them why they're calling, gives them some notes on the contact, even some suggestions of things that they might want to cover on the call. They hit dial, it starts dialing for them. They can do this while they're driving across town over the Bluetooth in their car. They have the conversation with the customer, which is really where the business is at, is communicating and engaging with the customers. And they have this conversation. When the call ends, they're able to log in their notes from the call. They can schedule their next call. They can change the profile on the consumer, all right from their cell phone. And so that's really what we're talking about, is artificial intelligence to bring the right customers to the service, and then the technology to make it easy for the associate. No matter where they are, they can dial in and start talking to their customers, log those notes, and ultimately it all comes back into their smart CRM. We actually have driven a little over 7,000 calls in the last 30 days via the dialer that's within the mobile app. And our associates, we have some of our associates that have accredited more than 30% increases in their business year over year, to just the idea of having every day those consumers that these are the people you need to talk to today. This is why, this is the goal, make an appointment. Really at the end of the day, we all know that the transaction starts at the appointment, getting face-to-face with the consumer, but we've got to tell the associates which ones they need to be contacting and making those appointments with.
You're taking the getting ready to do something great out of their vocabulary. They just get up and they go to their dashboard and they start doing the things that generate the results. I watch so many agents from a productivity perspective spend like most of their day getting ready to figure out who they're going to call, as opposed to just picking up the phone and doing it. Zig Ziglar calls that getting cooked into squat, fixing to rise. And they just get ready, and someone keeps turning up the oven. I think when I listen to you describe artificial intelligence, I think you just need to take the artificial out of it. It's just intelligence, the way that you're running the business and giving your agents the tools and the resources they need to be able to get face-to-face with more people faster. And so let's just call it intelligence instead of artificial intelligence, because I don't think artificial does it justice.
Well, thank you.
So talk a little bit about automation, some of the other automation that you're doing across your brokers, and also while we're here on this slide, if you don't mind, what's your focus as a brokerage on teams? Are you pro teams? Are you reactive to teams? Do you wait till they're going to quit and then you do a team solution?
No, we're very pro team. So we even educate our realtors on how to start a team, how to properly set up a team. What should a team look like? How should you leverage technology as a team to make all of your time more productive and to focus on the talents of the different team members? So we are certainly a very pro team brokerage. And for us, as it relates to the automation and more productivity, we use the experience of our teams and of our realtors and some of our top producers to understand what should we automate. So, when you get the listing, what is it that you need done? And then we go back through that and figure out how do we automate that. So a lot of our listing marketing is automated, from creation of the virtual tours and videos to Facebook boosts to drive interested consumers to that listing. We do a lot of automation through retargeting ads and things like that for our associates and for their listings. And then obviously, you know, calls, emails, texts, based on the consumer behavior.
I think it's fascinating that you have a 100-year-old company that's gone through a lot of changes over the time in real estate. And when you have a company that's been around that long, oftentimes I see a lot of companies that are kind of stuck in the traditional split model, which is often not conducive to running successful real estate teams because of where the margins go. And I'm just curious on how, you know, as a company you've decided to embrace that and not stay with the traditional model that you had all those other years prior.
Well, I mean, I think that our motto at Kai's is that we celebrate our collective independence. So if you ever look at any of our branding and logos, you'll see a reference to collective independence. And we're very strong in our feelings about that. And we believe that by helping our realtors to grow and to become teams, which, you know, we define them as kind of mini offices within our offices, by helping them to do that, it only helps us. So, you know, we all grow together, and that's really the way that we look at that. Traditional is wonderful, and I think there's a lot of learning blocks that we have there from the traditional way of doing things, but then you also have to grow beyond that and help the realtors grow with us.
Fascinating. Well, and I also like the fact that you're taking the content or the ideas and the thoughts that you're doing with your top performers and oftentimes the teams, and then you're sharing those best practices with everybody else. So whether they want a team or not, they're able to plug into the system and get the benefit of the intelligence that's being gathered by all this technology linking everybody together. It's just fascinating to me how you're running it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we rely heavily on our experts that are out in the field to know what we need to deliver.
So talk to me about relevant and timely content.
Well, as it relates to relevant and timely content, I think there's a lot of tools out there, and I'm certainly don't want to insult any of them, but there's a lot of tools out there that are great at delivering recipes or delivering holiday cards and delivering things that, you know, keep in contact with the consumer, and I think that that's wonderful and that's good, but they don't actually give the consumer the content that makes sense to them based on where they are in the real estate process. So, you know, things like Alyssa spoke to with the photo recognition. I can go and search on hundreds of different sites, and many of them at this day and age will set up property alerts for me. But will they notice that whenever I've been searching on the site, I have continuously looked at the Spanish style homes that are on a lake? And then will they search through using photo recognition and find the other homes that look that way? Or, you know, as it relates to the kitchen design or bathroom design, and notice that there's a trend in the way that I'm searching, and that obviously that's something that's important to me, and then deliver those results to me based on what they can tell are my tastes. And for me, that's relevant and timely content. It's not just, you know, this is the price range, the location, the beds and bath, but we can tell by your tastes that this is what fits you, and this is what you would be looking for. And I think that that's really huge to, you know, speeding the process along for them. And honestly, transaction process is a long and tiresome thing, even when you streamline it. So I think that the less frustration that you can take out of it, and the more you can get them directly to the meat and potatoes, you know, the better off you are.
I absolutely agree. Let's bring Mike in if we can. And Mike, as we're going through this kind of relative and relevant and timely content concept of delivering, you know, things in the way that consumers want it, the speed that they want it in, consistent with what they're searching for, making it unique. Tell me a little bit about your business model, first of all, and then how do we do that at Real People Realty?
Yeah, well, actually, I got a quick story to kind of jump back on Wendy's experience at her company. One of our agents, you know, kind of exactly going on with the relevant content and the proper searches and the smart AI learning and everything. So we had an agent running an ad on Facebook to generate clients. Lead comes into our website, registers on our website, and our agent Bieta calls up the client, you know, just give them the spiel. I see you we're looking for properties. The client lets them know they already have an agent. They're not interested in looking or in working with our agent. Fast forward a couple weeks down the road. Our agent's still able to track the whole entire time, all the properties that they're looking at. They're still going on to our agent's website every single day. The website's changing the searches and everything that's going on. As the client's favoriting the property, it's sending text messages out to the client asking when do they want to go see it. Our agent follows up with the client again saying, hey, I still see you're searching on our website. I'd love to work with you when you want to go look at some homes. And they let her know, hey, I'm still working with an agent. I'm not interested. So she's like, okay, well then why are you looking, at properties on my site? And they just let her know, I like the site. It's very convenient, very easy. We've even set it up as a company where it's sorting the listings by number of days on market. So every time the consumer goes to the site, it's seeing brand new listings. And then actually about a month down the road, the client reached back out to our agent and wanted to work with her because their agent, they felt like, wasn't staying up to date with what they wanted. They weren't giving them relevant properties. They weren't following up with them to see if they wanted to look at anything that they favorited or anything like that. So just because the automation had actually helped our agent win over a client that they wouldn't have normally gotten.
I think that's such a critical story. I love stories like that, and there's probably a lot more as you get into what the technology is doing for a company that's grown as rapidly as you have. What do you attribute your rapid growth to?
So we have kind of a very similar mindset as what Wendy has over there. We're very, very agent-centric brokerage. We focus on our customers, and then the end user, as well too. Being our customer, but really our focus is on our agents, providing our agents with good support, providing them with all the technology and tools and everything that they need to be successful, making sure that they have access to it no matter where they're located at. So that way, in return, they can provide their clients with the best service, best customer service, best experience and everything. That's really, really where our primary focus is on. And then as well too, we've taken advantage of all the technology and the adaptation and everything that's been going on in the industry. We've really, grown with it and saw that the job of a realtor, the job of a broker has really transitioned and changed throughout the years. Like you were speaking to earlier, how there was a lot of barriers in the industry before, and the client couldn't do a transaction without the realtor. They didn't have access to the information without the realtor. We really see how the industry's changed, and it's a lot more customer service related. And, it's a lot more about making it as easy as possible for the consumer, having the best possible experience at the end of the day. So then that way they're going to give you the good referrals. They're going to give you, good reviews online, and that's where the industry is really heading.
Out of curiosity, do you think that the technology enhances or takes away from the relationships that agents are building with their clients?
If used properly, it should enhance the relationship with the client. If you just let the technology do its own thing, then obviously it's going to hinder the relationship and it's not going to provide a good end result for them. But if you use it in juncture with everything that you've done previously as an agent as well too, it definitely will improve the relationship. Say for example now, some of our top agents that are extremely busy doing hundreds of transactions every single year, they're not always able to answer their phone and talk with their client. But they're able to now just shoot them a quick text message and fill them in on everything that's going on. Where, previously before technology, it would have been, oh, I'm getting their voicemail again, or, they're too busy for me. So it's able to make you stay more in touch with the consumer. It's able to follow up with them a lot more, just in regards of life events, following up with them, seeing what's going on, following them on social media, and just staying more involved with them after the transaction as well too. It's much easier to stay in front of your client base. And create that client for life than it was previously. Previously it was, okay, I got to send the holiday cards out every single year, or do my contacts once a quarter to all my user base. Now you can just simply friend request, your clients on Facebook and follow up with them and see how everything's going with their new home.
Mike, a lot of people talk about, and this is not a new concept, but, creating community pages and hyperlocal content. When you and I were talking prior to the call, you started really talking about what it means to be hyperlocal, and you take it to a whole different stratosphere. Tell us a little bit about what that means and what you're doing with hyperlocal content, what kind of results you're getting with it.
Yeah, so we have some agents that specialize just in specific categories. So we have, for instance, one agent that's throughout the years helped house homeless veterans, and now she's gotten to the point where they're actually purchasing their own home and everything as well too. So she's got specific pages that are built about one, just as a veteran, all the different services and help that's available for you if you're currently homeless or struggling, and then it goes into the VA process and buying a home and all throughout the whole entire process. And then even with our system through KV Core that we have, we have where the lenders get introduced into the clients, and we have attorneys and everything like that that they can reach out to, just to provide them with relevant information as they need it. Then we have other, agents that are, specializing maybe in Hispanic communities, and they'll have pages built that are specifically just in Spanish, or people that are working with investors, or, maybe just, Chicago. The big thing now is all the luxury rental properties. So we have agents that specialize just in that as well too, that have pages, dedicated just to that whole entire process.
That's fascinating to me. So when you're doing these hyperlocal pages, and so you're getting a high level of engagement on, say, a luxury complex, have you created smart campaigns that have content consistent to that viewing experience? So when somebody engages on that type, do they get a customized campaign?
So some individual agents have specific for their own marketplace that they're trying to market in. The nice thing about this system with KV Core as well too is it will adjust the follow-up emails based off the properties that they're looking at. So if they're looking at specifically just, let's say for example, I'm looking at just high-rise buildings in, in the city and condos, it's going to tweak and adjust their searches automatically to send them relevant properties every single day to what they're clicking on. It actually tracks how many times that they're clicking on properties. It's tracking how many pictures that they're looking at, how long they're staying on there, and then it will automate a lot of the follow-up searches for them.
You talked about creating experiences that were so exceptional that the clients, ran to the internet to give you raving reviews. Talk to me more about some of the things that you do to create that customer for life culture.
Well, there's several different things, really. It starts from just the very first point of contact. So one thing that we've had for several years as a company, we know when the homeowner's first starting to look for a property, the last thing they want to do is hear a sales pitch. So we actually have, when somebody's calling in on one of our listings, where they can call in into an automated system, it captures their information, but then the client gets all the information about the property. They get a text message with all the pictures, all the details, everything on the property. And then our agents getting all that information as well too, so they can still follow up with the client. They can provide this back to their seller, letting them know how many inquiries and how much interest they're getting on the property. But it's just ease of information for the client. So if they're just driving by the property from the start there, they're getting all the information that they need. Once they go into our systems that we have and start working with our agents, first we train all of our agents. Customer service is number one. It's the highest priority. It's really all you have nowadays in the industry is your service and your guidance and support. So we focus on that big time, and then they have access to everything at the tip of their fingertips on their smartphone. Their searches are doing it all automatically, where it's updating, giving them relevant content of what they actually want to see, what they're actually looking for. The system sending automatic text messages out like they're coming directly from the agent, to help make it feel like we're there for them throughout the whole entire process. The biggest thing nowadays is a lot of the consumers don't necessarily want to always have the phone call. They're doing a lot of this when they're at work, when they're not supposed to, or things like that. So just having the capability now to hit them on multiple levels, through just text messaging, through email, through traditional phone conversations and everything, just to help them stay in the loop. And then that brings all the way around, all the way through closing. So then after we close the transaction, we have automatic follow-up campaigns that are going to ask them how their experience was, going to ask them to leave us good reviews. It's going to ask them to give us referrals. It's going to follow up with them to see how everything's going in their new home, see if they have any questions, if there's anything that we can do for them. And then, of course, we also train our agents as well, too, to personally follow up with them on the phone to make sure everything's going well. But then, we have where the system can send out messages, on the anniversary, or even, holiday. They can send a text message to their clients just to see how everything's going and wish them a happy holiday. So it's about creating a relationship for life. It's not about just the individual transaction, and that's kind of really what's important, and utilizing technology to farther leverage that and provide a better experience for the client.
I love that. So talk to me just a little bit about the post-close, the things that you do after a transaction. Like you have live events on the slide. Talk to me more about what you do with live events. What does that mean? How do you define live events, and how often do you put them on?
So that's more so just for automated follow-up for the agent, for when the agent should be reaching out to them. So for example, when the client's having a birthday, or, if they've had a child, or, maybe their children graduated high school, it's just being aware of what's going on in the consumer's, day-to-day life. So that way they feel more connected to you. So that's very, very, very critical. And then the automation through KV Core, some of that helps make it a little bit easier as well too for the agent to stay on top of that and follow up with that.
So if I can ask, Wendy, if I can bring you back into the conversation just real quick, when we talk about creating customers for life, are there certain things that you like to do company-wide that increase the Google reviews and the online experience so the customers are raving fans and you shouting from the rooftops how great the guys' companies are?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that the closing process itself, Kai's has our full ancillary services with mortgage, title, insurance, and property management. And so I think when you couple those with the real estate and can really create a seamless transaction, that's where the jumping from the roof, screaming from the rooftops and jumping up and down and being so excited comes. But I think you also, right when that closing happens, you then need to capture that information from the consumer. So we survey all of our closed customers, and we post all of those reviews, whether good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm happy to say that we maintain a record across the company of 4.8 stars across all of our closed surveys. So I'm very, very proud of everyone that I work with that we're able to do that. But we do make it a point to survey every single customer. And then beyond that, through the closed process, we are now, as we move into 2020, rolling out a platform where we will not only have all of this wonderful automation and delivery of content, through the search process and coming up to closing, and then great ancillary services at closing and surveying them, but we're also helping now with the move. So the transition of services, whether it's their phone or their electric, their cable, their internet, all of those sorts of things, helping them with getting their moving scheduled, and then tracking that information to be able to get back in contact with the customer and let them know of special deals that are out there for them, let them know refinance rates that are available to them, just really becoming an advisor through the entire process of home ownership. Or property ownership, because we also have our commercial branch as well. I think that's really the key to customer for life. So there are many tools within KV Core with the validation of contact information and being able to identify those life events. There's great things with being able to send out anniversary notes for home purchase. Market reports are obviously important to anyone that owns property and just kind of understanding what's going on in the marketplace. The testimonials are definitely key, but I think it's an overall mindset that your customer is your customer for life and that you want to help them through all of the ownership of property, not just finding the property and closing on the property.
Fascinating. So Mike, real quick, how do you get life event data? Are you integrating with social media somehow? Are you looking for when they're celebrating online? Are you asking questions? How do you train your agents to get the life data so when life events happen so you can reach out and celebrate them with the client?
Well, KV's Core's gotten some software built into it that they've recently added where it's tracking some data for the email address and phone number and everything in there is to link with their social media profiles that it can find. And we really train and recommend all of our agents to be friends with all their clients on social media, because that's really where, if you're gonna get referrals and everything, that's got to be where you're at nowadays. That's where everyone posts all their life events, everything that's going on. And then if they're getting a review from their client when the transaction closes, if they're getting a picture with the client at the closing table or a testimonial video or whatever, and they post that on their Facebook page every single year, obviously they'll have a reminder that it's the home purchase anniversary as well too. So just little things like that makes it a little bit easier. And then with the help of technology as well too, like I said, like Inside Real Estate or KV Corp provides, where it's helping integrate some of that as well too, where it's easier for the agent to find that information.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Alyssa if that was something that KV Core did. Is there integration with social media inside real estate or with KV Core, product services that they offer where we're connecting to social media? Is that part of what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. We're also, when we talk about how do we create more intelligent, more relevant, interactions with customers, that's a big part of it. Is we actually run validation on not only every new lead that comes into the system, but also the agent's sphere of influence and their past customers. We do that every single week. So we're going out and pulling things from their social profiles, pulling outside data sources around, mortgage and their address and things like that to really drive those more intelligent experiences. And the great thing, like Mike and Wendy have shared, is that it prompts the agent then to go out and do what they do best, which is to connect with the consumer, right? So they know now when somebody's, had a baby 3 years after closing and they might be looking to upgrade to a larger home, they're at the right place at the right time to provide value that's relevant.
I thank you, and I appreciate that. I think that there's so much more that the technology does. I think we barely scratched the surface of it on today's call when we talk about the integration of creating these Amazon-like experiences. And I think it's physically impossible to provide the level of service if we want to be an Amazon-like company if we don't have the right backbone or we don't have the right underlying technology that drives all of that interaction, whether it's the artificial intelligence or the customized searches, the behavioral interaction that happens between the agent and the consumer without the agent touching it. Those things fascinate me, and I love watching the conversions that happen as a result of the technology behind it. We've got several questions. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask both of you some questions as we get into creating these better experiences for our consumers. From Michael, he wanted to know, how do we recruit? What are some of the best practices that you're using? And you can tell me about using the technology as part of your recruiting process, if you're creating smart drips with technology, or if you have some things that you can share with our brokers on the call that are giving you an unfair competitive advantage when you're out recruiting. Let's do Mike first, and then we'll go to Wendy.
So there's, several different things. The biggest thing comes down to it is no difference than any recruiting. It's about your message and what you're providing for the agents, and if they feel like they have a good value in your company and feel like they're wanted. So, we're huge, like I said, on being very agent-centric, agent-focused. Our focus is on the agents. They're our customer. We want to make sure all of our agents are successful. If they're successful as individual agents, that's really when we're seeing success as a company. And then just the fact that we're completely virtual with everything, so they have access to no matter where they're at with all of our tools, all of our systems, all of our resources. As far as what we do to reach out to these agents, we are using some technology with that as well too, to reach out to them. So different ways through, remarketing, through people that have went to our website, through Google and Facebook, using different resources through running display ads or YouTube videos, things like that. We have a targeted list of, our hot realtors in our area that we're trying to reach out to. And we'll run ads specifically just to them, driving them to a recruiting website that we have made, or send emails out, things like that. So, it's being in front of the agents through the technology platform, but at the end of the day, when it gets down to it, it's having something of value for them as the individual agent once you actually talk to them.
Interesting. So Wendy, if I ask you the same thing from a recruiting perspective, what is your unfair competitive advantage? What do you do that's just different? What's a unique selling proposition or unique proposition that you will deliver to your agents when you're in the recruiting mode?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that we deliver to agents is training. And so our technology and our tools and our marketing are fabulous, but without the training to understand how to use those and when to use those and how to interact with the consumer, sometimes it just sits in the back shelf in a brokerage and nobody ever uses it. So we have a huge advantage in training. We also have an amazing leadership team that is in every one of our branches. And, we have an office manager in every one of the branches along with an administrator that is there to support them and train them. And then, when we recruit, we obviously are recruiting, which is all the time, but we obviously are recruiting to the fact that we have that support and we have the training and we have the tools and the technology. And we celebrate their independence. And, the way that we do that recruiting, to a large degree, we have recruiters and we also have the branch managers that are recruiting, but we do leverage KV Core for our recruiting, and we do set up targeted lists. We hashtag them in our managers' accounts, and anyone that talks to KV Core can learn all about hashtagging, but we hashtag them in our manager accounts, and we set up campaigns for them much like we would do for a consumer. Very intelligent campaigns that are going out to the agent based on the business that they're currently doing or them being new. And we also are prompting our managers and our recruiters to call to these agents and to record that information into the system as well. So as far as our what we recruit on. I think we have a lot to offer from a standpoint of what we offer agents, and then how we do it, very much like the way that we interact with our consumers. It is both personal and programmatic, so that we're able to stay in front of them and give them pertinent information at the time that they need it.
All right, so I'd love to hear a one-liner from each of you. One thing that you can say to an agent that will get them to say yes to a meeting. So what is it you can say to an agent that will get them to say, yes, I'll meet with you?
Wow, I don't actually recruit, Beryl.
But that's that's right off my question board. I didn't make that up.
Yeah, you really put me on the hot seat there. I know 58 different managers within our organization that could answer that in a heartbeat.
They better be able to. They better be able to, right?
But if you ask me as Chief Information Officer, your problems matter to us, and we solve your problems. I mean, that's really, at the end of the day, that's what I feel of every
That was beautiful.
Well said, Mike.
I think the biggest thing with us, is just asking the agent if they'd be interested in, increasing their income without increasing the amount of hours that they work, or increasing their productivity without increasing the amount of hours they work. And then from there, just going over all the technology and how to leverage that, and how to work smarter, not harder, as a realtor to increase your income at the end of the day.
All right, so Mike, I love what you just said. Now can I twist this into a question for you? So suppose I could show you a way that you could increase the amount of money you take home to your families without increasing the amount of time that you work. Is there any reason you wouldn't listen?
Yeah, and most people would say, of course they'd listen.
Right. And that's all we want is a face-to-face appointment. And so the whole goal is, and so you said all of those elements, and so just asking the question the right way. So hopefully that answers the question for let's see who asked that question. I think it was Shelley or Michael.
Yeah,
let me give you another question.
Too is you have to have that face-to-face appointment. You can't sell the company or yourself over the phone. And that's what I think a lot of people usually try to do, is sell over the phone.
Yeah, right. The only thing the phone is for is set appointments. We just want to get the appointment. But another really interesting question, and this might be for Alyssa, but Alyssa, depending on the size, we have some smaller brokerages, some individual team leaders that are on this call. When you talk about integrating this level of technology, do you have to be an enterprise level brokerage in order to be able to find value in what Inside Real Estate and KV Core offers?
That's a great question, Beryl. No, so we work with brokerages and teams of all sizes. There are certainly some elements to supporting our enterprise brokerage customers, like the Kai's company, like Real People Realty, that are unique to a large organization, right? So a little bit more flexibility, customization, integration that we offer to them. But we work with brokerages of all sizes, including about 4,000 smaller brokers and teams. One of the really cool elements about KV Core that the Kai's company and Real People Realty offer is they can actually support teams within their brokerage account. So individual teams can purchase what we call a team add-on, and it gives them kind of their own little business within a business. So it drives all that value back to the brokerage, great recruiting retention value, but the teams can participate at a significant cost savings as well.
I think there's a lot of interest when you start showing the intelligence of the technology, and so people are asking questions about that. Loving to know the idea of what it really costs to integrate that level of technology in your business. And I don't think you should go into that, but I think if they want more information, let me give them a slide that they can get more information by going to insiderealestate.com/RISMedia, and that will let Alyssa's team know that you were on this call and give you the ability to do an information exchange and reach out and ask your questions.
Absolutely.
So as we get down to the last few minutes here, as we talk about an Amazon-like experience, and we kind of bring it all home, if there are one or two things that you would make sure that every broker did to increase the level of client experience that they're providing both online and offline, what would those two or three things be that you would recommend? Like, if you just do this, that would make the biggest impact. And let's do Wendy and then Mike.
I think for me, honestly, response is what makes the biggest impact. The more, content driven that response can be, the better off that you are. But just responding and making sure that the consumer knows that you're there for them, that you have heard them, and that you want to help them is one of the biggest things to drive business.
I love that response. Like actually respond. Is that what you mean?
That's exactly what I mean. And I know it sounds like the simplest thing in the world, but it is one of the keys to our training. You know, and obviously we've leveraged technology in order to assist with that. But at the end of the day, there has to also be a personal response.
Would it be fair to say it's easy, but it's not simple?
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that is so spot on, Wendy. I mean, we touched on this earlier in the call that on average, you know, only 40% of real estate inquiries get responded to. The other piece of that puzzle, though, is the 60% that do get responded to, on average, they hear from a realtor one time, right? So when we think about how do we earn new business, it's really about communicating, it's responding quickly, but it's also the follow through. And that's, again, where the automation comes in, right? How do we automate that process on behalf of the agents who are out in the field, working with their current customers, ensuring that we're filling that pipeline and making sure that we're bringing that next deal in for them.
Such phenomenal information, Mike. A couple of final thoughts on, you know, key things that you think every broker should do if they want to increase their Amazon-like experience to the consumer.
They kind of touched the head on everything, and I was just going to say, just touches. Have as many touches as possible out to the client. Always make them feel involved throughout the transaction. Let them know what's going on, and then even after the transaction's closed, you know, the more you're following up with them, the more you're reaching out to them, whether it be through a phone call, an email, or a text message. It's more they're going to feel appreciated and enjoy their overall experience.
I love that, and I'll wrap this up with a comment from one of our listeners that says, I need to listen to this again since there was so much great information, and I feel the same way. On behalf of RISMedia and all of us at Workman Success Systems, I want to say thank you for being part of this webinar. I appreciate everything that our sponsors do to keep these webinars going. Lisa, thank you so much for being a part of this and adding great valuable content and some really cool technology. I think that Inside Real Estate has some amazing tools that everybody should check out, and I hope that you'll take time to do that. Wendy and Mike, thanks for sharing what you're doing so well in your businesses. I wish you continued success, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Thanks again, everybody, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye-bye.